Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Just talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt, man!
All right, episode 13 of Shirt Show. We're talking with Brandt from Graphic Disorder in Tennessee. Let's go!
Shirt show!
So what's happening? How are you?
I'm good. How about you guys?
I'm a little sleepy. It's
I was
Sunday.
going to say, yeah, right
It
before
is
we
Sunday.
came on, the reason why we're late is because Dylan I was trying to wake him up and get him going, you know, like he was.
I was here at 3:00, fully prepared, ready to have a half-hour chat with Andy beforehand. And I texted him. He didn't hop on until like 3 after 4:00.
Ooh,
So don't
no
put your
preparation.
don't put your shit on me.
Well, a minute ago, I was poolside. It was a beautiful
Ooh.
day, and I had never had it before in my life. It's Crown Apple. I don't know.
Ooh.
It's apple flavored.
Is it good?
It was pretty good, just on ice. It was okay.
Nice.
It's kind of like drinking. It's kind of like drinking a Jolly, one of those apple sour apple Johnny Ranger. Johnny,
Yep.
come on, Jolly Rancher. There it is.
I like Johnny Rangers better.
Yeah, Johnny Rangers.
Yeah, they're so good. They're really popular.
That used to be my drink of choice when I was younger. I used to drink sour apple pucker, which was like a schnapps,
Mm.
and it was pretty good.
My first drink probably was the most horrible drink ever when it was peach schnapps.
Mm.
It was awful, but that's all we got our
Well.
hands on. It was available.
Yeah, when you're young, you take whatever you can get, right?
That's right.
So what's going on, man? Have you guys been busy?
Yeah, we're actually really busy, which is a little bit shocking with COVID. I don't know how I've heard other shops doing well, and then I've heard some are just completely dead. It's definitely not as stable as it used to be. We have a huge day, and then we have a slow day, and we have a huge day, and we have a slow. So it's like you get on these real highs, and then you get on these real lows where you're like, oh, we did $100 today, and the next day you're like, oh, I did 25,000. Like okay,
Yeah.
we can make that work, but it's like so some days it's just like you don't know how to plan for the future exactly because it's just so hit and miss,
Yeah. Did you guys slow down like right in the beginning when everybody was kind of like freaking out?
We so like the end of March, I guess it was like second or third week in March, we basically screeched to the halt. It was like somebody, shut off the water, and basically we just said, well, we're gonna furlough everybody, and we did that for a month. So we furloughed everybody for a month, and then about a week before we came back, I started taking orders again to try and get enough in the queue, to make sense to bring, or more or less to feel like whether I should bring everybody back or maybe partial staff, but we had enough work right away to bring back everybody, and we've had enough work ever since. So in fact, we are 3 weeks out on production right now. So
Yeah.
I don't like to be that far out, but I'll take it over the option.
Yeah, it's better than nothing and having to get rid of everybody.
Yeah. And we got employees with families and kids and everything else, so it's,
Yeah.
it weighs on me heavily on, how we treat that, whether we furlough them in the right time or whether we, reduce hours or whatever we have to do. But so far we haven't had to do any reduced hours, or in fact, I've given raises in this time. So I'm very happy with it right now. I have a feeling we haven't seen the worst of it. I hope that's not the case.
I know.
You mentioned you're 3 weeks out, and I was just having a conversation earlier today, actually, with somebody about tattoos, and like that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go and you're like, hey, I want to get a tattoo, and they're booking, let's say, a month out from now, that's a good sign, right? They're popular and they're hard to get into, So why can't that be that way with t-shirts? Or is that a good sign for screen printers too? Like if they
Well, I think in certain scenarios, it probably is. I think some customers probably look at that like, wow, they know what they're doing, or they're in high demand or whatever it might be. And then others think that every screen printer is the same. And we both know that's not true. So, I'm not, and I don't pretend to be we're not the best screen printer or whatever in the world or nothing like that. But I think we're well above average. So
you're pretty dang good. I don't know, from your Instagram.
I appreciate that.
It's pretty impressive.
Well, I appreciate that.
For every one good one he posts, there's 10 horrible ones.
yeah. We only do a heater every once in a while. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Lay off.
No. It's it's. I think it's just a deal like that where some customers can't wait, so they'll go wherever and they'll accept whatever, and that's fine because if you forgot to order shirts for your family reunion and we can't get you in, you shouldn't wait. You should go get shirts for your family reunion. So I don't blame anybody in those scenarios.
I feel like most people just like get an idea in their head of like what they want to buy and what they want to sell, and then they just can't wait. You know what I mean? They're like, I got to get these now, or they wait till the last minute. And they're like, shit, I was supposed to start selling these next Friday.
Yeah.
And then you're like, yeah, well, actually, we're booked up 3 weeks. Like, I know you're in a rush, but we're not. So
the big one for us is not even the print production. Like we have 3 artists full time here, plus 2 of us can also do art. So we have 5 of us that do art. But our big artist is booked until November.
Wow.
So when somebody comes for like a illustrated vehicle, car show artwork, or you want your garbage truck drawn for your garbage business or something like that, we're November and they pay it. They pay the fee and they wait.
Yeah. No, that's like where I'm at here. We get people all the time because there's a lot of like racers and stuff that always come here and they're like, hey, like, we have like a race team and we want to get some shirts made. And like, I immediately like go like, oh, like if they don't have artwork, I'm like, oh, because I don't have a guy. Like, I feel like it's super rare to find somebody who does that kind of artwork.
Well, they're out there, but most of them are busy. The good ones are really busy, and we charge what I think is, probably on the low end of it. Because I know guys that are getting $1,500 for a piece of artwork,
Right. Yeah.
But I don't know how many pieces of artwork they're doing. So, are they doing, one a month? We do one a day, so, or more than one a day sometimes with just that one artist. So, I think, and those guys, maybe they can get to it quicker because they don't have as big of a long line. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what's tough.
They can do it. Yeah.
I think that's what's tough about those those race shirts is that you just said, $1,500 to do this shirt. And so and a lot of the people will come and they'll say, I want 100 shirts. Well, already at $1,500, it's $15 a shirt just in art.
You haven't even printed them.
You haven't even printed them. So your minimum anyway, it seems like needs to be up there,
we kind of disassociate the two things because the one thing I don't like about some shops is when they hold art hostage. My personal opinion is if somebody pays me for a piece of artwork, they own it. So even if I'm their printer and I print, the job 5 times or something, and they say, man, I'm going to go have, Shirt Kong print it. Can I have my artwork? Yep. You paid for it. You own it. Yeah. Here's the artwork, and I wouldn't hold them hostage. I see a lot of shops that do that stuff, and I'm not a big fan of that stuff. So we separate the two. So we don't really talk about print until you have art. Now if you have art already done, whether it's through us or whether it's through somebody else, we take a look at your art, we quote the printing job, no problem. But I'm not going to quote you printing on fictitious art that doesn't even exist. So, and then some people get turned off by that too. They want an all-in price. They want to say, well, how much is my art going to cost? How much is my t-shirts going to cost? I'm going to order 500 t-shirts. I say, well, I don't know. Artwork doesn't exist. It could be $5. It could be $12. I don't know. Well, can't you tell your artist to do it a certain amount of colors? I was like, well, I can, but then when you come in for a change and you add 4 more colors, like now our quote's blown up. You know what I mean? So, and you're going to get mad at me for that too. So,
right. I feel like the hard part with the car stuff is just kind of like people are very specific. You know what I mean? We'll have a race, like I said, a race guy come in and be like, I want my car on a shirt. And it's like, well, he wants it to look exactly like his car. Like, all the decals, everything. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know where to start.
And he gives you a blurry picture.
This is a picture I got off of my, granddaughter's cell phone. That's a fucking old ass Nokia or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's tough too, because, especially the race stuff, like you said, where they've got 20 decals on the front fender, and you've got to recreate those at least. I mean, they're pretty small on the print, but they got to be, in the neighborhood, they can't, so that gets tough. And, we don't do a ton of race stuff yet. We do it now and then. But even with like a hot rod, like some dude customized that
like nobody else's. You know what I mean? It's not like you can go just find vector art of that truck.
No. And we draw from scratch here. So,
right. But that's what I mean.
The way we do it is we have them send us their favorite picture. Like, show me your favorite picture of your car. We're gonna draw it right off that. So you're gonna have your favorite picture of your car right on the back of your T-shirt. Now we're gonna put a different background behind it or whatever you might want. Some people want a racetrack, or some people want their shop, or whatever it might be. Or their dog. I mean, gosh, we've put all kinds of crap in. You wouldn't believe it. But yeah, but they're very specific, like your point. So if they've got a certain color that was on that hot rod that they dreamed about this color for 10 years, and then now I've got to print it. And they've showed me 10 different pictures of this hot rod and they all look different. And I'm like, well, which one is the most accurate, representation? Cause it's a dark picture over here. It's a light picture over here. It's raining in this picture, which one's the one you think is the closest to your color? So we'll have to try and nail, that color. And we fight that because, a lot of these jobs are 10 color prints, and, we'll get this press set up and we'll print the first print. We're like, no, that color is a miss. Like it's a total miss. Like, it's darker, it's lighter, it's the wrong shade. It's a battle sometimes.
That's a super tough part, I think, trying to get for us anyway, getting the right, we can pick the color in the bucket or off of a swatch, but then it's underbased. And so that can change it, And so what does it look like on an underbase and what color shirt is it? And so you don't know until you're on press.
Yeah. And I don't think you could ever, people can pretend, I called out a Pantone. That's the color of my car. Nah, once you get it on the shirt, it may not be right. It just,
and we've had that a ton of times. Yeah, we've had that a ton of times too, where like we get a company that comes to us and says, I have, I paid a really good artist really well. Here's the design. He picked all the Pantones, whatever. We print exactly what they asked for. We went off the mock-up. We printed all the Pantones, everything. And like Andy said, like that purple might look different with an underbase that they didn't predict. And then we print it, give it to them. And they're like, this isn't right. This isn't correct. And we're like, no, that's exactly that Pantone on that underbase. And it's just what it looks like.
Tough to make them believe that though.
Right. And they're like, no, you did it wrong. Like you cut a corner somewhere or something. And it's like, no, sorry.
The mixing software doesn't lie. It's,
right.
You got it right in front of you. It looks great in the bucket. You get it on that T-shirt. It may not be right.
I think half the people, maybe more than half, maybe 99% of the people that tell us that they want a certain Pantone are choosing that Pantone on their computer.
Photoshop.
Yeah. Not from the Pantone book or the guide, they're looking for it. Exactly. So they don't, and which is obviously way different. And so they're choosing something that's not the same,
We straight up tell them that like in the notes when we talk to them, like do not, it's in bold, like do not pick from Photoshop.
Yeah.
Like if you're giving me a Pantone and you want that Pantone, it better be from a book. Like
from a book.
You better have a book or your artist better have a book. Don't pick it from the internet. Don't pick it from everything.
That's what you're going to use. Yeah.
Right. Because their book looks just like our book. So we're going to match that.
That's all you can do really. But it does get tough when you got a vehicle that's, not a Pantone color. It's lime green, but there's a zillion shades of lime green, it's like, it does got a pearl. Is it, what, is it a darker shade of lime green, lighter shade, so you start fighting this stuff. And it's, we've missed before, man, like, especially, some of these particular customers like, hey, I told you this orange and, it's not that,
my favorite thing to do is to match a Heather shirt. I don't know if you ever color like eyeball mix match for a Heather shirt because there's all those different colors in there.
You
ever see those videos that Printed Threads does with Seth where he takes like a Pantone book and goes out and like actually Pantones something that customers requesting? He'll like run out, and I think there was one where he did like a cow. He like went out in a field and like held it up. Or like went up to something. It's always ridiculous. It's not like something easy where it's like he has something in front of him. It's always like, I got to go out and find this thing and like Pantones it, and then comes.
He's
back.
in IKEA. He found a dresser that was the same color.
Right.
Oh man, no, I haven't seen that. That's great.
So, which came first for you? Cars, graphic design, or printing?
Cars. I've always been into trucks was where I started. I was into custom trucks, and I still have a custom truck. And my fiance has a custom truck also. But I've always wanted, fast cars and whatnot. And so, as I got a little further down the road, I've had a couple Ferraris. I've got a Porsche now. I had a McLaren once, a couple Corvettes,
So wait a second. How big's your garage?
It's not big. It's not big enough. Well, right now we only have 5. We have 5 cars and I have a 2-car garage. So do the math. But she's got a lifted truck, so it has to sit outside anyway. And I drive a Raptor every day, so it sits outside. But she's got a M3 BMW, and I have a GT3 RS Porsche right now. So those are toys. We like cars.
And you have a really good insurance payment.
Yes, I do. It's not as bad as you think, honestly. I always thought it would be a lot worse, but it's not really that bad. We don't have a bad driving record there.
You're not getting it. Yeah, that's the problem. Is you're not getting good enough tickets.
Yeah, I need to get a better ticket.
Right.
Then it's going to go way up. But yeah, I got into custom trucks when I was, I don't know, 14 probably, and that's kind of how we got our start into doing all this. It just took a while. I started doing vehicle renderings in Photoshop. So that was probably like 2001 roughly. And we weren't printing or doing decals or anything. I was just doing Photoshop renderings for $100 or something. Well, that got to the point where I was doing about 500 of those a year. And then it turned into, hey, can you do business cards? And hey, can you do flyers and posters? And, and so as that all was happening, we started, I think we bought our embroidery machine before we bought our first screen print press. We bought a single head embroidery machine, which was a turd, but you got to start somewhere.
To do hats or something, or was
that? Yeah, hats and stuff. And so we started doing that, and then it turned into, hey, can you make some shirts? So we bought like a one-color eBay piece of junk. Like I think it was like a $1,500 kit, and it had everything. It had a flash dryer to cure, and it was like a welded together piece of junk. I mean, it was, a 4-color, one station press. And, we did okay with it or whatever. We only did some printing for like a few customers that like kind of knew we could, but then we went to a Vastex press, which was a pretty nice manual. They were somewhat local to us, and we lived in Pennsylvania. So we just drove up and picked up one, and we bought a 6.6 from them, and it was great. Their press was pretty good. And then it just blew up, man. It just exploded. We were in my parents' basement. It was about 2,400 square foot, if I remember right. And we just had shit everywhere, man. It was, it was downstairs, so you had to bring in, it's like, I remember one time we did a 1,500 piece order, and we're like yanking like 10 boxes down at a time and 10 boxes back up, and all this. There was not enough room downstairs to keep them. And
that's one of the things like a lot of people don't realize when you get decent size orders. It's just the logistics of moving boxes.
Yeah, like where do you keep that?
Right. It's like these people who get like 10,000 piece orders all the time. You're like, yeah, it'd be cool to print a 10,000 piece order. It's like, dude, you don't realize that's like fucking like pallets. 13 pallets.
Yeah, it's pallets, man. It's pallets.
Right. And like, what do? Do you print the front of all 13 pallets and then box them all back up and move them and then bring them back over and do the other thing? That's what I'm saying. People don't think about that stuff. And it's like, dude, you need to think about that stuff before. The hoodies is the worst for us because like in the winter we get those companies, those big lumber yards or whatever. They're like, yeah, I need, 5,000 hoodies. And it's like, dude, 25 hoodies fits in a box.
Massive. That's
what I'm saying. It takes up so much room. And it's like, you need the extra room just for moving shit around.
And you're right. You sometimes would probably have to print the front for some of the order and then print the back for that part and then get those boxes out of here.
That's like exactly what we do.
Or put them in a container or something, get them out of the building, get them out of the way.
That's exactly what we do is we take like per pallet, we'll do the front and back, box it back up, and get it out and shipping and receiving. And then do the next pallet front and back and then move it.
Yeah, and if if you're limited on space at all, that's probably the smartest thing you can do because you just don't have anywhere to put it.
It's the only option we have.
Unless you have vertical storage, which we have the ability to do that here, but we don't have enough racking yet. But like there's nowhere we could do it. Like you drop 10,000 hoodies on me, I'd be done. I'd be like, I'm out.
We did sweatpants about 2 weeks ago that had a 5-color shin print. A 1 color up here, like below the hip, massive, like 1 color that we had to barely fit on pallets. Then it had vinyl, like a reflective vinyl here out by the pocket. And then it had, and we had to tag them because it got special tagging. And then it was going to get embroidery, but they changed their mind at the end.
Wow.
Because they were $1 million a piece.
Yeah, I was gonna say how much. So what color is your Ferrari?
Yeah, for real.
If you did those, you're rich too.
but you know, that the whole thing is that once it comes out of the box, I hate reboxing stuff to pull it out again, you know?
Yeah.
And so once it comes out of the box, you kind of want to just make it all happen.
Finish it. Yeah.
Yeah. Finish it.
Yeah,
So
make it happen.
Be efficient as possible anyway. And so that's kind of to your point, you know, you hate to, if you have a front and a back, it's great. But if you have a sleeve too or something, then what?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. What's the thing people don't think about? I mean, obviously, most of the people who are listening to this are printers too, but it's like if you're, again, like say 10,000 pieces or 5,000 pieces, you're like, oh, it's front and back. Okay, well, that's actually like 10,000 prints.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, oh, well, they want to add a sleeve. And then you're like, do you really want to add a sleeve? Sure, you don't want to add that logo to the back, like real small on the bottom.
We're not a fan of like specialty printing locations at all. Like we try away. We don't print tags. I try to stay away from sleeves as much as possible. I don't always get away with that one, but
dude, that one's rough. Like I feel kind of like shitty as a printer to like, I don't care. Like I'm going to admit it. And most printers are going to admit the same thing. They hate fucking doing sleeves too.
Yep.
But I just did a thing where I talked to Stage Screen Printing, and that's like his favorite is sleeves. And he does like 5-6 color, like full sleeves, both sleeves.
Why is it his favorite? Why is
he just likes doing them because they're cool. Like
does he like the pain?
Well, that's what I think so. I think he likes the torture, but just like, I mean, it is cool. Like if you see like a cool, like metal shirt or like a movie shirt and it's got like awesome print on the front and both sleeves are decorated, it does look cool. Like I get that, like you're excited to be great at that. But to
racing
me,
markets like that too, they love sleeves and, you know,
to me, I look at that and I'm like, like I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Especially when it's that 10,000 hoodie order, right? Both sleeves. I want the hood printed. I want a tag printed. I want front and back. I want a side.
We always joke about that. Like a customer calls or whatever. And it's like, yeah, I want a 10 color front, 10 color back, gold foil tags. I want to print on the inside so I can flip up the front over my face. And it's like, dude, come on.
You've been watching too many Walmart shirts. So
back to your, we interrupted your basement story.
Oh, you're good. Yeah. We started in the basement or whatever and, 6-color manual down there before we left. And we had 3 heads of embroidery at the time. We had a 2-head and a single head SWF. And my lived with my parents, so and we were making good money, but I was just trying to stockpile every dime, because I knew eventually I was going to have to get a space. And when we lived in Pennsylvania, the rent for anything was just off the scale. Like we were pricing buildings out at basically $1 a square foot a month, so you want 3,000 square feet, it's $3,000, and then usually you'd have to pay lawn, like your lawn had to be upkept by the people that were upkeeping all the lawns around.
It was triple net charges.
Yeah, triple net. I couldn't think of the term. Triple net. Yeah, so you had this extra $500 or $600 or $700 bill on top of the other.
That can change, by the way.
Yeah, and it goes up and down. And that's exactly the way they explain it to you. They're like, oh, well, it's $500, but sometimes it's $800. And I'm just like, well, like I kind of need to know, And so my dad actually lost his job about the time we were looking for space, and me and my fiance had lived in Tennessee several years before, just for like a year. But everything down here doesn't do this with the economy, like it's just kind of straight down here. So your rents don't go up and down really. It's just kind of all the same. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to go down there and look at buildings, instead of like this PA stuff was just going to cost me a fortune. And so we rented the building we're in now. I came down here and it had like it actually had 3 suites. So it had an upstairs where I'm at now in my office, a downstairs with the warehouse, and there was a downstairs below the offices that have, it's like an indoor air conditioned office area. And they tried to rent me just the inside. And they were going to rent somebody else the upstairs and somebody else the warehouse. So there was going to be 3 of us in this building that was really meant for one business. And there was only 1 bathroom. There would only be 1 electricity, 1 cable, all this stuff. So it was like one of these things where I'm going to have to like share UPS dock and all this stuff.
Sounds like a slumlord.
Yeah. And they were just trying to maximize their rent or whatever. Right. And he had no idea where I was even from. I just sprung it on him. I seen the ad and I called him and he come over and immediately we looked at it. And he's like, I was like, well, how much to rent the whole thing? Because he was trying to rent me like the inside for like $700 a month, which I thought was crazy. I was like, oh, okay, we found a place, you know. And then I said, well, how much for the whole thing? He said $1,500 a month. I said, I about jerked his arm off, and because it's 14,000 square feet, and I don't have to share with anybody for $1,400 a month. I'm like, or $1,500 a month, and I was like, done deal, you know, let's do it, you know. So of course we had this tiny little Vastex manual in the corner of this massive warehouse, like it just looked ridiculous. My friends
at that
were
point,
like,
though, did you know in the back of your mind you were going to go auto?
Well, yeah, I was already looking at autos, but I didn't think I was close to buying one, to be honest with you. And I just thought, well, I'll get the space just in case. And the money was fine, because here I was planning for $3,000 a month or something for a fraction of the space. Mm-hmm. Now I've got, you know, 5 times the space that I wanted for half the money, you know. So I was like, well, this is a dumb deal. Let's go do it, you know. So we did it, and I've rented it for, I'm trying to think, was it 2 years? I think right at 2 years. And the person that owned the building, which I had never met, I was renting it from like a realtor. He was doing like a, you know, whatever. And the constable came here looking for this guy a couple of times. He wasn't paying his taxes and his property taxes. And so we were getting notices that like, hey, you know, you're 2 years past due, you're 3 years past due, or whatever it is. And finally we got one that says we're literally going to sell it on the courthouse steps on this date. And about like a day or two later, here come this constable again. And this time he was like pissed off, like he was mad. And he was like, I need to see the owner. And I've never met the owner. Like, I don't even know what he looks like, you know? And that's why I kept telling this guy, I was like, I've never met the owner. I rent from a realtor, you know, and he pays the owner. I said, go find that guy. He'll tell you where you know, he's giving this guy a check every month. He knows where he's at. Right. You know, so he's like, why don't you just do us all a favor and buy this place and save us all the headache? And he was scaring me, you know, because I knew that even if the bank sold it, they would have to honor my lease or whatever. But after that, I would be kicked out, right? They could kick me out, because who would want to buy this building to lease it? I don't think they'd want to do that. They'd want to use it themselves, I would think. It's just that awkward size, you know. So anyway, I went to the bank and they were like, we'll do a 0 down deal, like 15-day close, like.
How did they determine the price? Was it you were buying for the back taxes?
No. I bought it from the bank before it went to auction. In other words, so basically we hurried through the buying process to get it away from that auction deal, you know. And so it solved all. And he had to pay his taxes with the profits from the building, and so everybody got happy in the deal. Was
it like a really sweet deal?
It was. I paid $330,000 for this building, 14,000 square foot. It only had 400 amp service at the time, which was not quite what I hoped, but it was enough to get by.
3-phase, I guess.
Yeah, it was 3-phase. You know, it had everything you'd want, you know, and it's where I want to be. We don't want to be in town. We don't want to be, we don't do any local business almost. Like, it's pretty much, I'd say it's 99.8% internet. So
yeah,
I don't want walk-ins. In fact, my door says no walk-in, no appointment, no, like, basically, you know, you have to.
I heard you don't answer your phone either.
I don't answer my phone. Yeah. So when I talked to you on the phone that day, I was like, oh, this is weird.
I don't either.
It's just because I like people, man. So like when I get to, you know, if a customer is going to call me, I'm going to get in a 30-minute, 40-minute conversation. I guarantee it. Well, I do about 150 emails a day. So where am I going to have time to do all that if I'm talking to some percentage of those customers? It just won't get done. So it's just going to mess up the bottom line, which means it's going to cost more for someone to hire somebody to do sales and all this stuff, you know. So I just get away from it, man. And some people are real turned off by that. They want to call me and describe their artwork, or they want to call and talk to the owner, whatever it is, you know. And we just don't do it. We won't do it. I've turned down, I shit you not, a $600,000 order one time.
Dang.
Because they want to talk on the phone. I said, nope, not interested. Because I just felt like that, you know, and some people are really great at like keeping details like that in their head. I'm literally a dumb redneck. I have got no words other than that to say, you know, describe me. I'm not supposed to own a business. I wasn't supposed to own a business. I came from a tiny ass town, you know. I'm half illiterate. I can't spell my way through anything. and you want me to keep all the details, it's just not a good idea for you or for me. I'm going to mess up your order and something's going to get lost in translation.
I do the same thing. And I'm 100% on your level with that. And you do kind of sound like a dick by being like, I don't ever want to be on the phone, but it's like you said, it's like, I always tell them too, like I have customers and friends and all this other stuff that always like, they send me stuff on platforms I don't use, like on Facebook or on a text or whatever else. And I'm like, email me all your details. Like shit's going to get lost. And then when the order's printed and something's wrong, you're going to be like, what the hell? And I'm like, well, because you spread it across fucking 5 platforms. You called me and made a change that never got recorded anywhere else because you didn't email it to me. It didn't get put in anything.
And so I like the email for the other reason. When you make a mistake, I can prove it. When I make a mistake, you can prove it. And there's not a lot of debate, right?
Right.
If I've misprinted your order and you told me to do this, it's black and white right there. And I made a mistake, and I eat it immediately. There's no argument. There's not a debate. I'll take it. We'll handle it. You know, but if you've turned around and told me you wanted white t-shirts and you really wanted red and you got white, well, you got white.
I agree with you.
We answer the phone here for sure. We also have walk-ins. But we're a bit different because we're a custom screen print shop. But to your point about the as far as emails, like we will not take sizes over the phone. So a lot of times people will call and say, "Hey, I want a reorder of this, and here I want 10 large." We won't.
Nope.
You know, no way we're going to take it out of our phone. And sometimes that frustrates somebody because they're in a hurry and they just want to give us the sizes and get the reorder, right?
I only need 2 sizes right now.
This is easy. Like I just need 10 of this and 10 of this. But what happens when it's wrong or we didn't hear you right? And so can you email that to us? And most people are cool with it. And like, fine, I'll email you. But if they're not cool with it, then our solution is like, we'll just say, okay, well here, I'm gonna email you right now what you just told me. Just reply back that we got it straight. Yeah.
And I've thought about something like that before, but I get to be friendly with people and I want to be friendly with people. I want to hang out, talk on the phone, whatever. But I just feel like that I've already got all these commitments, right? Of people that are doing it by email. And they know that if they email me, I'm going to answer them today. They're going to get a quote today and they can pay for it today. And it's going to be in process today. But if I'm jacking around on the phone, talking to somebody about, why the sky's blue today or what kind of weather they got or whatever it might be, I feel like I dropped the ball on the customers that are counting on me doing business that way. Now I know to scale, I can't do this forever. I can't do it like that forever. I have to scale differently, probably.
Do you think voice calls are going to go away? Eventually, because so many people, like the new generation, they text, right? If you try to call them, they don't know what to do.
No.
So
I wouldn't be surprised if they go away. Yeah. Probably with mine in your generation. Yeah. They're going to be like, I'm tired of this shit. I'm just going to text.
Yeah.
But again, texting's hard too, because if you're getting 150 texts a day, somebody's texting you about an order for next week. Somebody's texting you an order about, they might order in 6 months, remember I texted you, I wanted black shirts and you gave me blue, like these things,
which is basically why I hired Sarah.
Yeah.
So like now she answers all the phones. The problem is for so long, I had all of our calls going to like, each of us have basically a work cell phone.
Right.
So my cell phone was all over everything, business cards, internet.
So you're getting all of
everything. Yeah. Right. So I went through and like deleted all of that as much as possible, made it all the work phone. So now like almost all of it goes to like Sarah picks up the front desk.
And we'll have to do that eventually. I'll have to get somebody at least to handle all my email and all that stuff. And I can just work on the business because I literally do all the email here. So I do all the sales. Sales, so it's tough for me to get involved in, some of the, hey, let's improve the printing some way or something, so I'm always dropping stuff at Shelly, but I never get involved and I can't be down there to do it most of the time.
Dude, I'm telling you, I feel like connected in that way just because like I was exactly like you in the same boat, same 150 emails a day, all that other stuff. And then like one day I just like took the leap and I was like, I'm just going to hire somebody to do my emails. Like it's basically like a personal assistant, but like she ends up being customer service.
Yeah. Customer service.
And then, dude, it was the best fucking thing ever. I promise you. Cause immediately you're like, like every day you walk in and see that email list and you're like, oh, there's no way I'm going to get through all this. Because the problem is it doesn't stop. It's not like you have 150 emails that day and then you can go through 150 and then the next day it's there again. It's like, no, you might sit in one email and like go through the whole process of it. And then when you go back to your inbox, there's 8 more emails.
Just like it.
That just came right back in. And it's like, it never ends. So like getting somebody in the morning that I can just go through what I have in my inbox and be like, that's for Sarah. That's for Sarah. That's for Sarah.
Yeah. You're speaking to me. I mean, that's, that's where we got to go eventually. For us right now, our bigger problem is getting a good printer in here, man. We've got, my fiance does all the printing and she's fantastic at it, but she also does all the ordering, all the digitizing. She does all the color steps. So there's a lot on her plate. And it's getting rough, man. We've had a couple good printers and then they come and they go, man, they just, it almost doesn't even matter what you pay them. They seem to, they're a different crowd, you know what I mean? And it seems to be that's a profession that's going to die,
as far as hiring printers, my best experiences anyway are just having press assistants. I think we talked about this on a couple podcasts ago, where there's a press assistant and that person grows into a printer. So I don't know if Shelly has a press assistant right now.
We have two right now. Both are, one of them used to print manually. And we hired her to be a printer and I'm not putting her down at all. She's great at what she does. But she's just not ready running auto at a pace. You know what I mean? Shelly generally prints 600 to 800 pieces an hour, moving pretty good. I don't think she could print this. She could probably print 300 or 400, max, which would be okay if we had somebody, if they were tag team and, both presses run at the same time, type thing, which would be okay. But I don't know. She's not adapted to some of the, like, why is that sticking? Why is this not, how hot's that flash? Should I speed up? Should I slow down? These things that she just hasn't adapted from manual to auto because they're just kind of not the same. I think she'll get it eventually, but I don't know that she'll be able to run a press like Shelly. And we had a printer that could run a press really well, but she didn't work out. She had some personal issues, and it is what it is.
Are you trying to hire people that say they've done screen printing before, or are you trying to hire people that are totally green?
We've done it both ways, and I think to train somebody to do it right is tough, especially when, like I said, Shelly's doing all that stuff and she's the printer. She's just out of time, so at the end of the day, she don't have a lot of time to like walk somebody through every single thing, why this is happening or why she's doing it this way or why she's putting the red here instead of over here, and these people, they want to learn, but it's tough to train them. We're working on it all the time, but it's tough. I don't pretend to have all the answers on that. I wish I did, because I'd have another printer.
I think it's probably easier. I bet you it's probably easier for a shop like ours because we do a lot of 1 color and 2 color. We have to do a mix of orders, right? We're not always doing 10 color or whatever. Yeah. And so what I tend to do, and maybe Dylan, you do the same thing, is that you start on a 1 color. Just set this, not even flat, not even like a white or anything. Just, hey, black ink, navy ink, whatever. Yeah. Start with that, set it up, run them, because there's just a lot going on, when you're running a press. And so just don't worry about the flash right now or anything like that. And then you graduate to a 2 and 3. And so you run like our 8 color press. Yeah. You just start on that. So you're running, you're never running more than, we have 2 flashes on it. So we can do a 3 color on there with 2 flashes and everything's great. Yeah. And anything above 3 color goes to our 10 and anything above 5 goes to our 12. And so it's like, we kind of run it like that. Yeah. And maybe you don't have those orders to start on.
We don't. we do probably in a month, I bet we print 2 jobs that are like white ink on a shirt or something like that. It just doesn't happen here. I wish it did. And to your point, maybe I should make some sort of sale or be aggressive about trying to get those type of orders in here so that my printer can learn to run those things. So, well, I don't know. You're making a good point. You are making.
I feel like you're just so hard into that niche.
Oh, we're buried in it. Yeah, we're buried.
Right. But that's what I mean is like, there's no, like, I wouldn't try to bring on other stuff to build that one. I just feel like, you're probably going to have to get somebody on press with her that pulls shirts all day that just observes. And like she slowly gets them to like replace her, and then she goes to another press and then get somebody next to her again and then do the whole thing. It's kind of like what we did is we just had like almost everybody we've hired is like totally knew nothing about screen printing, because then you don't have to break them with bad habits they learned from a shitty shop before. But just like Andy was saying, I think we talked about this before too, where like there's printers that run autos all day long and do great work that have never printed manually before.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like you hire them on the auto and they've just always done that, and they've never actually physically pulled a squeegee.
Yep.
And it's like Nate, we've had him for probably a year and a half, almost 2 years now. And that's the same thing we did. We're just like, all right, you're going to pull shirts for Randy for like, 6 months. And then like, he's going to show you like how to do this. And then eventually he got it on his own press. And then we were like, all right, we know you're not ready for full auto. Like, here's a foot pedal. Like, you're allowed to use this for like, like a month or whatever. Like you're going to have to get off it. Like you're going to have to wean yourself off it. But just so you know, like it's not going to spin until you're ready.
Yeah.
And then like he loads, and same thing like Andy said, like, all right, the max you're doing is like a 3 color.
Yeah.
And then like eventually he gets into 5, and then eventually you're like, all right, you can do pockets and sleeves, or we're going to introduce you to water base or oversize or whatever. It's like you slowly add stuff and they get comfortable. But it's super hard, because it's like the hard part is too is like you're taking a risk and you're investing in that person, and you don't know what's going to happen. Like in 3 months down the road, even though they like the job, something might happen where they're like, I have to move or I have to quit. And you're like, well, fuck, now I have to start all the way over again. And like, I invest another, cause I feel like honestly, to get a good printer that can handle most jobs that come through the door, you need at least like a year.
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. You're investing as an owner of like, I'm investing in you. Like you're looking at your new employee and like, please don't fucking flake out on me in like a year. And we've had this talk before too, but it's like when somebody comes in to interview, you don't want to hear, this sounds terrible, but you don't want to hear that they have ambitions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't want to be like, oh, in 3 years, I'm going to like do this, or I'm going to go do this, or I'm,
what the worst,
this is a stepping stone.
You know what the worst thing to say or to hear is when they come in there and they're like, yeah, I just want to learn this because I want to start my own shop.
Not here.
I don't think, you won't hear that, but I'm just saying like, I don't want somebody, I don't want somebody to be like, that's
brave.
My goal is to like open, like a veterinary clinic or something. And it's like, well, I literally have to invest 1 year into you to start making my money back. Like you're producing enough that like actually is like super.
It's going to take me 3 years to offset that 1 year. So I need you to be here for a while.
Right. You need to be here for a good amount of time.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah.
So I fully get why you're talking about, like, it's just hard to get people.
Yeah. And the two we have there now are both, they set up and break down presses, and there's no problem. They understand everything with that. And they're pulling, both of them pull, and they get it, but they just, I think they get intimidated by the press. And maybe that's a little bit because we just haven't given them that push, right? Where it's just like, hey, ruin these shirts or get them right. One or the other is going to happen,
Brandt, I would get intimidated by your press. I think it's 100 colors or something.
It's a big one. It's 18. It's a big one. And the other one's a 12. So, our small press is a 12.
Wow.
And what's funny is we can't put most jobs on that small press anymore. They just don't work. It won't work. And it's got 3 flashes, so, I mean, it's just, it's the press we go to when we got a 6 color we want to go real fast on, because that press it's really fast.
The
that
12
press,
is?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's the world record press.
What is it?
It's a Challenger 3D. It's so if you look up if you look up the M&R London world record, that's the press. It's the actual press. We got.
Do you know, Dylan? Do you know about this press? Do you know what he did on his heads? Though he actually paid you have the upgraded head.
It's a digital head. Right? Yeah, so they're all digital. Everyone's touch screen at the head. And then the nice thing is you don't have flags like the typical M&R where you got to set your print stroke by the little slidey flags. You can literally go to the main panel and set up one head. So say you got a 15-inch print you're going to do. You can set up the first head. You say you want to go 50% speed, 50% flood. You want 50% pressure, and you want a 15-inch stroke. You set all that up in the first head. You can copy and paste it to every head without touching. Cool. It's like 2 buttons to make all that happen. I wish all the other M&R presses had that. I think all presses that have that now. It's 2020.
Is it an option that to even do anymore? Do you know?
I don't think they'll build it anymore, because when I wanted my Gauntlet 3, I was kind of nudging them that way, and they're just like, no, we're not going to build another Challenger 3. And I think it's mostly because people don't want to pay that money. I think that feature alone was like $5,000 a head. So just the digital at the head was like another $5,000 a head on top of what you would pay for a normal 12, 14.
And that's usually what it costs. Like if you break it down, usually like per head anyway. So if you're like, I want a 12 color, and then you're like, what's the price of 14 color? They're usually like, oh, another $10,000.
Yeah. Yeah. And then so you'd do that, it'd be 20 because you'd have to,
right. Because you're getting fancy add-ons. Yeah,
you're getting fancy add-ons, which no shit, it saves a bunch of time, because just running around, because you've forgotten to set a flag before, right? Hey, I didn't move my flag down far enough. We half printed this, the test print or whatever. You could fix that all from the head, and the nice thing is from the head, you can set, or not even from the head, from the panel and the head, you can set pressure. So you could say, man, the red is not good enough. We need to, more pressure, something like that.
Mm-hmm. So yours is all digital. There's no manual. Yeah.
Nope.
Switches or anything?
Nope. So even your air pressure, like you got the knobs at the end of an M&R. Nope. Not on that press. It's all digital. You just touch it. It's really cool.
That's awesome. That's funny. I mean, it's also scary too, because like if something goes wrong, it's not like an easy, like, oh, I just need to change a bolt.
It wasn't scary when I first got it, because I thought they'd build it for a while. And now it's a little scary, because the press is 5 years old now. And it's, to be fair, it has never had the first problem. It is just kicks.
That's out. Like the thing, and we can talk about this now because we're all M&R guys here in this chat. So usually, sometimes we're talking to people that have rocks and stuff. We kind of bite our tongues, but it's like, like with my Sportsman, I've had like for probably 6 or more years now, not a single service call, no breakdowns of anything. So yeah, and it was
it's worth its weight in gold to me.
Right. To me is like no breakdowns, no issues on press. I mean, all we have to do is like the regular maintenance, like greasing shit, and it's like it's solid.
Yeah.
But I was that shop that had like 2 different autos at one point, like 2 different brands.
Yeah.
And the other one was basically trying to be that press. Like it was trying to be the Sportsman, and just to see the little differences, and like that one was always had an issue. Like something was breaking down, or the tablet had an issue, or it was glitching or whatever. Yeah. And then you look like right across the dryer belt, and there's a press running perfectly fine.
No problem.
No issues. And you're like, fuck, why didn't I buy another one?
I've had our 2 Sportsman's 0 service calls, but I've replaced a few parts. I don't know if you're including that or not, because I've replaced a couple proxes. And I don't know if that was our fault because we knocked it and broke them or what, but we had a few proxies go out. And then I think it was like a lift cylinder maybe or something.
Yeah.
Also one of those
that's like, I feel like that's one of those things like on an auto that's kind of like changing the brakes in your car.
Wear and tear.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just regular like...
Yeah, there's millions of prints on those.
Shit's moving every day and going in and out.
Every single
you're
day.
Going to have to replace stuff here and there.
I think it's something that when you get no matter what press you have, you should expect X amount of dollars per year. Maybe not the first couple of years, but after it's out of warranty or whatever, you can. I mean, a figure.
But it's just general upkeep, and you should do that anyway. You should just replace stuff before it fucking breaks.
Yeah, because then you're down in the middle of something you can't be down.
Right, like don't wait for that stuff.
Our biggest, the only problems we ever had with our Challenger 3D was we forgot to replace the battery, from the PLC. So we weren't even down. We just had to make a phone call to M&R, and they're like, "Here, do this, and you can run for the day, and then we'll overnight you a battery." Like it was not a big deal. Like
I did a stupid thing, and I don't normally do the maintenance on them, but one day I was out there and I was told like, you got to change on our Sportsman. There's like, I think it's like 3 or 4 D batteries for like the backup memory or whatever it is.
Yep.
And I'm looking at the manual and it says like, take cover off, change the batteries or whatever. I read that far and I'm like, oh, okay. And I like open the cover, take the batteries out. And then right underneath it in big letters, it says like, do not do this unless press is on. And the press was off. And I was like, fuck. So I took the batteries out, put the batteries in, turned it on, and like nothing worked right. Because like it just like cleared the memory or whatever, and I was
back to 0 was what it was.
Oh my god! Because like when they get there,
that's what happened to ours. Yeah,
right. They like calibrate it to be like, okay, it's your offset or whatever is on this, and like
what'd
all
you
these
do?
things, and like it wiped it. I ended up calling service and they walked me through the whole thing and they're like, oh, if it's doing this, do this, do this, do this. And that's one of the best things about M&R is the 24/7 service. Like you're always going to get a hold of somebody. So I just it sucks. Like you call and you're on hold for a minute and you get somebody, but they're like, yeah, let's do this. Let's do
At
this,
least you have somebody though.
Right. You have somebody. Like it could be Sunday night at 10 p.m. You can call and like get a hold of somebody. So,
When I went and visited their factory, and they have, like, when you first walk in, I don't know if you've ever seen, you've been there, Dylan. Have you been there, Brandt?
I haven't been to their new one. I've been to the old one.
So when you walk in, they have that service call like center, and they have this giant screen and that kind of is in queue, like who's on the call and everything. And then they're like, yeah, so here's what we do here. And we record every call. And they're like, oh, so Shirkong. And they typed it in and did a search and I was like, oh shit, they're going to play. I hope I was nice. Like they're going to play my calls. And we were all standing there.
You asshole. You can't come in here anymore.
That's right.
It was funny. Like when I visited and did the tour, it was when Rich Hoffman was still there. And that was the like amazing. I'm so glad I went and had like the opportunity to hang out with that guy for the day. And he's just so smart on everything. But it's funny because he was talking about that, how they do the service calls. Basically, like if you call and it goes to one service text number and he doesn't pick up, it automatically bounces to another service text number. And if for some reason he doesn't pick up, it goes directly to Rich's cell phone.
Which means somebody's going to be in some trouble.
But that's what I'm saying. Rich told me straight up, like no filter. He's like, if it gets to me, someone's in fucking trouble.
Yep.
He's like, if they didn't pick up the phone, like they're going to like, yeah, I'll help you out. Like me as the owner of this company is going to help you out. But when I get off the phone with you, there's two people I'm calling. Like, why the fuck weren't you around to pick up the phone?
Funny, Rich is kind of, I would give him some credit for where we're at today. I mean, he, you probably don't even remember the story, even if you were on. Do you remember Digit Smith? You guys either go on Digit Smith back in the day?
Yep.
Yeah. So there was when I was shopping for my first auto, all these manufacturers' websites were trash, and they're still not that great if you ask me. Even M&R, like they could be better. You know what I'm saying? And so I, as a layman, I didn't know what I was looking at when I was looking at a Workhorse or an Anatol or an M&R, like one's blue, one's red, one's teal or whatever it was, so like what really makes these a difference? Obviously I would see that there was more M&Rs in the field than probably anything else. So I understood that meant something, but as a layman, you can't just say ours is the best without telling me like very clearly why you think yours is the best or why I should buy yours. So I created a thread on there called automatic press. So kind of on purpose, because I knew that would kind of get everybody's attention, but I hadn't really thought about the back end of it that much that it would turn into a Google thing. So this thread, you guys know who Robert Barnes is?
I don't.
No.
He owned Workhorse. Well, he sold Workhorse at one point, and then he went and worked. Have you heard of Printex presses?
Yep.
So he was the U.S. distributor for Printex presses. So I get in this auto thread thing, and I just start asking the dumb questions. Why would I buy an M&R versus this or versus that? Whatever. Tell me what makes the Workhorse better than the Anatol. Tell me what And this thread gets to be kind of big, like 20 or 30 pages in the beginning. And Robert Barnes gets in there, and he's pushing these Printex presses or whatever, which were I think were they Portuguese or Poland? They're from Poland is where they were built, and he's got a real bad reputation for like attitude and he's always shit talking M&R and like Rich had sued this guy several times if you didn't know that. And
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
now.
this was like these guys put these guys in a room and
dude, didn't these guys make a press that's literally fucking exactly like like blue and yellow, like everything is exactly the same, isn't it? He
was involved in helping copy some of the M&R stuff, and even the Workhorses were sort of a knockoff of the M&Rs at the time. So anyway, long story short, he gets involved and again, I'm a layman. I don't know who I'm talking to. All I know is that some big name press guy is giving me all this advice, and he tries to sell me. He comes to my shop, actually, tries to sell me this Printex press and throws this like sweetheart deal. Like it was like, I think it was like $35,000 for like a 10-12 with a gas dryer and like 4 sets of pallets and like 100 zillion squeegees and just everything you can imagine. Right. And I was just like, man, this all sounds too good to be true, because you're hearing the Diamondback costs, 25 grand or whatever it was. And that's kind of what I was shopping for, was an entry level auto. And Rich got involved in this thread, and they just spar back and forth every day. And I'm kind of like mixing it up and throwing things in there, trying to get information more than anything. Well, anyway, this thread goes on to be more than 100 pages. If you typed in automatic screen print press in Google, that was the number one result. It came up
still
above.
Out there?
No, it might still be there, but a lot of it got deleted because there was lawsuit shit involved. Anyway, so it was coming up number one in Google. And then even when you would search M&R or Workhorse or Anatol, like this thread was coming up like at the top. So Rich starts getting involved, and he's sparring with him or whatever. And he finally says to me, he's like, I'm going to fly you and Shelly. And this was like December 17th one year. He's like, I'm flying you and Shelly to Chicago. I'm going to put you up in a hotel. I'm going to pick you up. I'm going to show you all our factory or whatever. And I'm also going to take you over to Anatol. And he says, and what you're going to tell me is that you're not going to buy. He's like, I don't even give a shit if you buy one of ours or one of Anatol's. He's just not going to buy from Robert Barnes. That's what he said. He says, that's what's just going to happen.
I fucking love Rich.
Rich is the fucking man, dude. And so no shit. He picks me up at the hotel or at the airport, drives us to fucking Anatol. He's never even been there. Okay. We tour Anatol.
Without him, you mean?
Without him, yeah. He leaves. And you know what Anatol did, right? They tried to seize the moment too. They've got this thread that's got all these manufacturers being listed, and here they've got an opportunity to try and steal the customer, right? So they show me a press. They walked me in a conference room and threw a fucking offer down on the table that I was an idiot to not take. It was a sweetheart deal also. And I look at the guy, I was like, what do you think? What am I supposed to do? Rich is pulling up in the parking lot. I can see him in the fucking parking lot. And I was like, he's out there guy,
like this in the window.
I was like, he flies me out here. I was like, I at least got to go see his factory or whatever. I was like, he's like, this is like when you leave the room, the deal's not good. And I was like, you got to give me at least till tonight, And he's like, all right. And so, and they weren't being mean at Rich or anything, but they were just trying to seize the deal. So anyway, Rich picks us up, takes us to lunch, and then spends 8 hours walking me and Shelly around this factory. Just me and him and Shelly. And I'm just like, we walked by one guy's order from like India or some shit. It was an order for 40 Diamondbacks. One order. 40 Diamondbacks. Just stacked in pallets. Just they're boxing them all up and shit. And I looked at him. I was like, what in the fuck are you doing with me? I was like, I'm going to buy a Diamondback from you. One, or whatever, sports, whatever it might be, and I'm probably never going to buy another press is what I'm basically thinking, And he's like, no, he's like, we need to do this. I want you to see I just don't want you to just waste your money with Robert Barnes. He's like, don't even buy if you don't want to. And it's funny because we walked through all this and, I can't imagine the stuff he's not being heard about that day, with orders or what might be going on. And he's dealing with this no-name customer. And at the end of the day, he just walks me into his office. He's like, so what'd you think? And he's like, were you impressed? And I was like, well, duh, I'm impressed. It's M&R, and he said, well, make up your mind what you want. Let us know, no offer,
no pushing you, no, nothing.
No pushing, no sweetheart deal on the table, nothing, and just said, we'll be in touch, and see how you're making along. He's like, but save your money. Don't buy from Robert.
I'd say two things to that. One, if you tour M&R, there's no doubt like what you're going to do.
He's got a lot of firepower. He's got a lot of firepower there.
Because
same thing with Andy. Like I feel like if anybody has the chance, if you ever go to Chicago, tour that fucking place.
Yeah. It'll make you fall.
The thing that's crazy, and I've had discussions with them about this for like social media stuff and whatever, is like you guys have like this big badass fucking facility here in the States that makes this equipment. And not only do you make this equipment, but raw steel comes in one end of the building and a fucking finished automatic press comes out the other end of the building. And like they literally make the fucking robots that weld their own machines. Like they didn't just buy some other machine to do this. They make the machines. They make the machines that make the machines. Yeah. And it's like, how are you not fucking buying this? Like, how are you not like awestruck at the shit? And the same thing, like
through all of it. It was so crazy.
That's like the same thing. Like when I went, Rich showed me around and like, I feel like it was the same thing. It was a couple hours. It was probably like, I don't know, 3-4 hours. He walked me around. Most of the time we were bullshitting.
Mm-hmm.
Like he wasn't like, and this is this thing, and this is this. We were just fucking bullshitting about stuff and like shooting the shit. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, and like he's like, oh, the belt on this, Gauntlet 3 or whatever. He's like, you'll never break that thing. He was like, he's like, my problem is that I try to make things so strong that like. He's like, I should make them shittier. He's like, honestly, I should make them shittier so they break and you want to buy more from me to replace it. He's like, my problem is now. Right. But yeah, he was such a great dude. I mean, he's still around, but like he obviously isn't at M&R anymore. But
yeah, he did a lot of good stuff for us, man. He helped us out multiple times where we need, like when we had our sports. So the end of that story was we ended up buying a Sportsman from him, of course, which was above what I wanted to spend and all that fun stuff. But later on, we needed a bigger press, and that's how we ended up with the Challenger 3D. I called him up. I was like, man, I need a bigger press. My customers are just pushing on collars. We're printing 7 collars on an 8 collar press. We're sending it around 3 times because we don't have any other option. And he's like, well, and they were busy as shit at that time. He's like, I can't remember what he was, 6 months out almost or something, 4 months out, whatever it was. I was like, I can't wait that long. I was like, you got anything? Like you got, some dude that ordered 5 presses and he can wait on one of them or something, like I'll take somebody's order, whatever it takes, and he's like, I got nothing. He's like, and then he goes, call you back in a minute. And like half hour goes by. He calls me back. He's like, I got the Challenger 3D from the world record competition sitting in the corner in a pallet still, or in a crate. He's like, you want that? And I was like, I don't think I can afford that. And he's like, it's used. That's the way he said to me. It probably had 4,000 impressions on it or something. And he's like, it's used. And I was like, well, I like where this is going. Yeah. So he's just such a good guy, dude. He bailed us out. He saved me because I could have spent money with Robert and just got screwed. The end of those stories ended up being as some of those guys spent money. There was a guy in Iowa bought 4 presses for him and paid cash for them. Wrote him a check. Robert made a big press deal out of it, like framed the check, and it was a big order. And the guy never got one of the presses. Never even came. Like it still hasn't ever came. Like it's crazy.
That's ridiculous. The problem is that like we have this discussion about M&R and stuff, and like we all know the presses and we all love the presses. The truth of it is that like Rock and all these other companies, like the press works and they make shirts and they do this, but to us, it's the experience like we just fucking talked about. It was Rich walking us through things, or just everybody M&R now, like the customer service or the way they handle things, or just being able to call and talk to somebody. It's that shit that makes the difference for me.
Well, even Workhorse was involved with when we were on that thread, or in that thread, and they had an install like 30 minutes from here. Putting in the shitty, what is the shitty one? The low end press. I can't even remember, the Javelin or something.
Yeah,
shit.
Javelin.
Whatever it was. The very pretty much entry level, maybe the second press up. I don't know. Anyway, so he had an install. He's like, we're going to be finishing it up on this day. Come in and we'll show you it run. Which I thought was great because the closest M&R was like 90 miles away. So which I ended up going to see that too. But I had 20 minutes. I'll go see it. We get there and they're finishing the install and they couldn't get the press running. I sat there in the corner of this guy's shop, the owner looking like he was ready to bite his fingernails off. Workhorse is in the corner calling tech support 50 times. The thing won't even index, and I'm just like, it's just not good, dude. I was just like, I'm not going to buy one of these. Like, you can't even get your own press running, no.
Yeah, shit happens. It's just, I mean, like I said, we had a Workhorse. We had it for years. It did what it was supposed to do. It printed shirts. Yeah. But like I said, when I had that right next door, like literally right next to the Sportsman, who's never broken down, never had an issue, to me, it was an easy decision. It was like, okay, like, yeah, this press works. And if you had nothing but Workhorse, like you bought all Workhorse presses, you had all Workhorse dryers, anything, same with Rock. If you had any of that stuff and you grew up with it, you're going to be like, yeah, that stuff's great. This is what it is, because that's like what you're used to. But it was, for me, it was like I had 2 clear cut presses right next to each other, and it was like, this one to me obviously is better in my opinion. So
full disclosure here, no, M&R doesn't sponsor us. Yes. Right. Yes, they probably should. After
well, like I said, the
I'll be waiting on the sponsor check in a minute.
But that's what I'm saying is, like, if you listen to like Rock podcast, which there is one, they're doing the same shit we're talking about. They're like, oh, I love this, and it's like, that's the thing, is like all these presses are all doing the same thing, but we have experiences that just made us want to do this one. And I personally think, in my opinion, that M&R is the best one. So,
the second thing I wanted to say about that was that I try to do the same thing here. So when a customer comes in and maybe they're placing an order or they're thinking about placing an order, I like to give tours, and so does our customer service reps. And I love walking around and showing them, our presses or our dryers, or here's our screen room, or here's where we wash screens. I love doing that because, and then at the end, just like you said, there's no like sweetheart deal or anything. At the end, it's just like, there's no pressure. Like if you want to order shirts here, in fact, you can leave, you can think about it, whatever. Because you just showed them that this is what we do every day. And there's all these people here that care and that try really hard to do that. And I want you to leave here and know that that's what we're about. Yeah. So that you're
Plus
okay
they see
with
your infrastructure too. They're seeing.
Yeah. It's not
some dude heat pressing in the background.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's real. And so this is why I'm going to spend, because we're not the cheapest, and so there's a reason why I want to go there. You go to ShireCon. And so I love giving tours. And so I'm just like Rich. And so and I wasn't always like that though. I wasn't always proud of the shop back there, and so I didn't want people. We had a wall, in fact, before, and nobody came back there. And so yeah, I mean, I like that part. Good story.
Yeah. What's your favorite piece of equipment? It doesn't have to be press, but like just
mine.
Yeah. That you have in the shop.
Well, I mean, I would say, it's tough. Obviously, I would probably never want to manually screen print again, but I probably would never want to run a screen print shop without an eye image. After having an eye image, that's just, it just seems to me like a crucial piece that some guys just miss. Like they run an ROI and they're like, oh, I can't make any money on this thing. And like, it doesn't make any sense on paper and all these things. And I'm just like, I think the thing is one of the best things you can put in a shop.
It's the quickest ROI for sure, and biggest next.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like we paid ours off. Like our ROI on it was like a year.
Yeah, but M&R will even tell. I mean, M&R unsold me when I was originally wanting to buy it. I wanted to buy it, and they were like, "If you're not doing 50 screens a day, you shouldn't get this. It doesn't math out." You know what I mean? And I was like, "Well, what about?" just like making the guy's job easier that's doing my screens every day. You can't put that on paper. I was like, well, sure you can. That's his quality of life. Right, I know I can't put a dollar figure on that, but I can I can see the guy smile more often. You know what I mean? And of course, when I bought it when we were probably doing, God, it couldn't have been 20 screens a day,
Yeah.
And
but you also had that tri-sync that came with it, that app, that's where, for us anyway, that's where a lot of the savings was.
It's like the same conversation we had with Alexa and Tyler from in-house. Like it's just those two.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It could be you and your fiance running this shop. Wouldn't you rather take a screen and load it into an iMage and hit fucking print and know all those? Right. And the thing is with you too, like you're doing a lot of those like high detail halftones and everything for those cars and all that stuff. Like, you're sacrificing by doing film with that because it's human error of lining stuff up and taping and all this other stuff. It's like, if you're two people and you can load that in, hit this, and like you said, go do something else until it's done. Like you're saving yourself time. It's not necessarily the money thing. You're not shaving seconds off.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing. We had a discussion about this a little while ago where it's like, I'm not one of those shops that's like, looking at everything in time and seconds and how many jobs did we get done today. And like, I bought this piece of equipment because it shaves 15 seconds off of this process. It's like, I'm buying it because it's making my quality better. It's making the quality of life better for that employee. Like that's the reason why I bought that. I didn't buy it for any other reason than that.
Right. And then I think about it the same way you're thinking about it. But then in the second layer of that is I always think about it like if everything just went to shit, can I still put shirts out with just me and Shelly standing down there?
Right.
And how fast can I do that? Well, if I've got an eye image and a Unicoat and all these things, well, it just makes that much, it all falls together a lot faster with that stuff. So, I think that at the end of the day, it's just a smart move. Obviously I wouldn't tell a guy with a one station 4-color manual go out and buy an eye image, but you get your first auto. I think you should really be thinking about throwing an eye image right behind it, Yeah.
How has the Unicoat, I think you got a Unicoat, was it a month ago or two?
Yeah, about a month ago. And you helped me, which is great.
It's great. Love it. Yeah, really. So how has that changed the whole process? Like, what has that done for you?
Shelly, who's doing all the other stuff, was also coating screens every morning. So she's not doing that anymore. So now the person that does our, actually burns our screens and, cleans our screens is just using the Unicode every day with no knowledge of what she's even doing.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's so great. Like trained her how to do it in 5 minutes. Like it was, I don't even think it was 5 minutes. It was only 5 minutes because we ran through a couple screens, but there was there was nothing to teach. It was like, here, hit this button, make sure you're on the right recipe, hit this button and you're good to go.
That's what I was going to say is like my favorite, and not necessarily piece of equipment, but just like doing the automated screen room as much as possible. Like the iImage, the Unicoat, and like the Starlight, having all three of those together to me was like, that's by far like the best investment I've ever made.
I want one of those
just because yeah, don't we all?
I'm jealous. I want one.
I made a little video for M&R if you want to. I can share it. It's just Dropboxed if I'll share it with you.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't share it with Dylan because he's not, I don't know, lots of reasons, long story. Okay. But if you want to watch it.
Okay, yeah, I do.
I think, do I have your email? If not,
Brandt@graphicdisorder.com. Just like so.
Now the world knows it. See,
if you could give us your phone number so we can put
I'll give you a phone number. It won't be mine. Yeah, no, I'm jealous. I want one of those. I want a full bag and tag set up pretty bad too, but I can't. That one's so expensive to do right.
A lot of your shirts, do you ship out? Then you bag and tag everything?
No, but we have a couple of our biggest clients. We're bagging and tagging quite a bit of shirts.
Just manually right now?
We are.
Yeah.
So
manually. Yeah.
That's like, I think like within the next year, those are our two new purchases was it a K19 or something like that? It's
something like that. Bagger. Yeah.
That and the Ecotex are like our two next purchases.
Yeah. I'm basically right there too. I think I'll probably do the Ecotex first. Just because I think I can probably make that one make more sense financially in the beginning anyway. I just
need to make a little bit more space before I can get the folder bagger.
Yeah, in fact, that thing takes up a bunch of space. Isn't it like 30?
It's long.
It's 30-something feet long, I think, that whole setup.
That's like the Ecotex, though.
Yeah, basically. The Ecotex is, I think the Ecotex is 24
23, 24, yeah, something like that. Yeah, because I was just measuring for it the other day, and I got a wall that is not long enough, but it would be so perfect if it could be there. And I'm like, son of a bitch. Like,
I had to do measurements because we have like an exit door, and then basically our Gauntlet 3 is right on the other side of that door. Mm-hmm. So the distance from that door to the wall, like couldn't go any fucking further, is 25 feet. So like it's literally going to go and fit in that
perfect.
Space.
Yeah.
That's the 3-chamber, right?
That's the 3-chamber.
Yeah.
So that's what I was saying. I was originally going to get the 2-chamber, and then I started looking. I was like, well, if I do this, and then back and forth with Andy about it, and then back and forth with M&R about it, I decided to hold off because I was originally just I had the money ready to go, going to buy a 2-chamber. And then after talking to everybody, I was like, I'm going to be stupid not to go with the 3.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing, like I said, found all the measurements, everything. So now I just like have that money sitting, and I'm going to save my pennies a little bit more and get the 3-chamber.
That Ecotex has got to be a huge quality of life too. Like that.
Oh yeah.
That's going to be a big one.
That's another thing is like some people say, well, how many screens do you have to be processing a day to have that make sense? And sort of the same answer, quality of life.
Quality of life, yeah.
And like I'm running into that now, and me and Andy haven't discussed this yet either, but like I have an employee that I've had for a long time who's been basically our screen tech. Like he cleans screens, coats screens, everything that has to do with screens. Like he does the whole thing. And for me, it's smarter to do that than to have like one guy who cleans screens and one guy who does all the other stuff, because it breaks the day up. You know what I mean? The guy who cleans screens might clean 10 screens in the morning and then coats screens and then comes out and does like another, like a dip's worth, basically, like every 5-10 screens, whatever.
Right.
He actually just ran into some health problems where he went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, hey, like one thing you should really do, like doesn't know anything about his job, doesn't know anything. He's just like, stay away from chemicals, like any kind of chemicals. He basically came to us and was like, I can't do this job anymore because I can't like be spraying chemicals or doing anything like that. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm sorry. Like we ended up putting him in another position in the shop. Thankfully we had like another opening that we were looking for. But if I would have had the Ecotex, we wouldn't have had that problem. He could have kept doing it because he's not really touching any chemicals. He's just loading screen in and it comes out the other side. He's just hitting it with water.
Yeah.
So that was another thing, like no chemicals in his face or anything like that.
I think the Ecotext is so one of the most overlooked spots in a shop, because so many people say, you look at that price tag and you're like, oh shit, like I could just have somebody clean screens, for that. And
for a while.
for a while. And then but it's like the quality of life and also how clean they come out. And also when you look at it over time, it makes sense financially too.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to add a second person washing screens, it's a no brainer.
Yeah. No, you're spending a lot of money. You've got two people doing it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But if you ever want to come up, check it out, or Dylan, if you want to fly down, run some screens through, see for yourself. And I have that video I'll share with you.
I've done 6 months of research at this point to see exactly what I want to do.
I got a funny story about the Ecotext. I seen it before both of you guys. Long time before both of you guys. I seen it when it was in the R&D room at M&R, and it was just a pet project.
Oh wow!
Yeah, Rich took us in there one day, and it was just like, "Look at this!" And he's like, "I think I can make screen automated cleaning like through this thing." And I was like, and it looked rickety as shit. Like at the time, I was like, I don't get it, like. He's like, no, it's going to work out. And like, then you didn't hear nothing for years. And then boom, there it was, hit the market. I was like, wow, they've been working on that one a minute.
Well, there's a lot to it. Theirs is, I feel like has the most features on it, that actually calculates like, drip and like all these other things. A lot of these other ones, it's just, and there was, plus or minus with both, but that was a lot of the other ones. You just hit a button and it's a conveyor that goes the same speed all the way through. Mm-hmm. So they have a little bit more science behind theirs.
There's a ton of control. You can control how long you're in the wash chamber. I want it to wash this amount of time. You can set recipe jobs like anything else, M&R.
Yeah.
And you can let it drip, like you just said, and then in the reclaim, same thing. Different mesh counts are going to have different. Going to spend a different amount of time in each chamber. So
you got to clean that thing out pretty often.
I have been doing it. I skipped a month in the wash, and I shouldn't have, but it's the easiest one. So chamber 1 is the wash where we put 701 in there, and I skipped a month last time. And I noticed I had to add, I just ended up adding more chemical because it eventually, some evaporates and some transfers, and you take some from this chamber to that chamber. But so I might as well have done it at the same time. And so that's what we're going to do from now on is when we change. I had to do chamber 2 on Friday. And so I said, okay, I'm just going to do them all, And so I cleaned out, we drained chamber 2, refilled it. And I did the same thing to 1.
Are you doing that monthly or are you doing that?
And so for us right now, we're doing it monthly. I mean, it depends on how many you're sending through.
Right.
So we're not at what we were last year right now. If we were, then, we would be, maybe it's sooner or I don't know. You could probably do a month, you're supposed to add some, but I kind of like the idea of not doing that. I like the idea of just draining everything and starting over.
Is it a pain in the ass to clean? That's the only thing I don't know anything about.
So I should have done a video on that too, because that's a big question. So I will next time. Yeah, cool. But I would say if you spend no more than, it's probably between 30 and 40 minutes on each chamber.
That ain't too bad.
If you want to do a good job. If you're in a hurry, then you can drain it off faster.
Right.
But we cleaned it out pretty good.
That ain't bad. That ain't bad at all.
But what are you going to do? Like we did the same thing with our dip tank. We had that's how we did it before. Yeah. And so we'd have the dip tank was a pain in the ass to drain and clean out. There was always like just sludge at the bottom, you have to deal with. And so it's kind of the same thing. And so how often did you clean your dip tank?
I don't know how often it is now because it's one of those things where just kind of we have the chemical in the building and as soon as it gives out on us, we swap it. Yeah. I don't know what we're at on interval wise.
Yeah.
We do ours like once a month.
Yeah, right. I'd say it's probably in the neighborhood, yeah.
And that's the funny thing, too. That's another one of those where all these other shops I can't say shops because it was always chemical manufacturers like, this thing should be lasting you like 8 months. No. There's no fucking way.
No, never.
And that bugged me forever because so many of these people were like, oh, yeah, this chemical, I know shops that run this thing. They have it for, I was like, what is it? Some dude in his garage who does like a project a weekend? Like, there's
4 screens a week.
There's no fucking way.
Plus, I think some of that's our fault because we'll jam as many frames as we can get in there, right?
Well, that's what we do. We do 5 per dip.
Yeah, but then there's always the couple that you pull out and there's melted too much. And so maybe that too much gets in the chemical. You know what I mean?
We just do like the same time. It's like whatever it is, like 3 minutes or something. It's like dip 5 screens for 3 minutes, pull them out. And we don't let them sit either. We don't like take one out, wash it where the other ones are sitting. We like pull them up, turn them to the side, let them drain or drip or whatever.
That's smart. And then, that's what we should have done. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, we like let them drip. Yeah, just let them fucking stew. We take them out and let like the excess stuff drip off of it, and then just wash them out, and then dip another 5. Like basically, while you're going through and giving them like a degrease, have the other dip in there going. So by the time you're done degreasing, you're grabbing 5 more.
Pull one out, put one in. Pull one out, put one in. So there's always 5 in or whatever, like you said.
Yeah.
But sometimes you get distracted and you've got to change your music or change whatever it is. It takes a little
that's
longer.
What really kills your chemical. It's just like things sitting in there too long.
Yeah. Well, that was part of it then.
Yeah. Well, and this is another thing that's not really related to that, but like we did it a couple of years ago now is get just a water tank, like a water dip tank for dipping your screens after exposure.
Post exposure. Yeah.
Yeah. That to me, like as soon as we started doing that, especially with doing a lot of stuff with halftones, because the problem is that you can do it the other way where a lot of shops do, where they bring it out, they do like a light pressure water on both sides, let it sit for whatever, 30, 40 seconds or whatever, and then hit it with a pressure washer. The problem is with that, anything you had a lot of detail on, you're hitting it with the pressure washer, you might blow it out, or you might blow out halftones you don't want blown out.
We don't use the pressure washer on our screens when we after exposure. Yeah. We just use a regular water hose.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying is if you do the dip, say you just dip it in water and pull it out, as soon as you get any water on it, it like melts right out of the stencil. So there's like no issues with any, and we use Diazo in all of our screens. So all of our screens are really hard anyway.
Yep. Same.
So we don't really have much issue with like,
we coat, burn everything right out there in the light in our warehouse. So, I mean, we got LED lights everywhere out there. So, I mean, we couldn't do, photopolymer it'd burn too fast. It would be done. Like we couldn't do that.
Well, Andy, your emulsion's 1 second?
No, we're playing.
Well, your old emulsion.
Right yeah. It's too fast.
Yeah, that's so fast.
Yeah, it's
and on.
There's such thing as too fast.
Yeah, that might be too fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
even 5 seconds, I was like, man, I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah, I think ours is like 28 seconds or something.
I think we're burning. I think it's in the 20 to 30 range. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're about the same.
Yeah.
So what's next? Yeah. What's next for you guys?
Well,
other than we heard all about the employees. Like, what else is next? Like,
we have 2 presses. I just want to get them both spinning all the time. So that's the goal. And then obviously with that, we're going to have to. The Ecotex has got to happen. We got to have 2 printers, all that fun stuff. We already are doing, so we'll set up one press and print on the other is the way we do things right now. Can't always do that with our backs though, because if we got like 2 12-color jobs to do, we can't, can't print both on that other job. So, you can print the front of it or something sometimes, but man, our customers just keep more and more colors. It just seems like as many colors as we can put on it, they'll pay for it. And
that's funny too, because I have a buddy, Tony, who owns Tiny Fish in Rochester. He's only like, an hour and a half from me or whatever. He has a couple big presses. He has the Gauntlet 3 that we have. And he's like, dude, I don't know what it is. You won't even advertise. Like, there's no point in advertising that you have a bigger press.
Right.
But he's like, as soon as that press gets in your building and gets set up, you will just magically start getting jobs that require more colors. And he was so fucking right. Like as soon as we got it, we started getting jobs where it was like, dude, this is a 12-color print. And it's like, this is a 10-color print. This is a 9-color print. And it's like,
it never stops.
As soon as we got it in, it was like more and more colors. And then he's like, and then your art department's going to be before where they would have to actually use their minds and think about like, how can I make this 6 colors or how can I make this 8 colors?
Now they don't have to.
Now they don't have to. They're like, fuck it.
3 more.
Yeah. They're like spot. This is 12.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, it's cool. Like we like doing it. Like
I saw that 12 color you did. Was it yesterday or the day before?
Friday.
It was on your new TDG. Was that on, or is that?
Shut up. Dude, I had fucking 5 people send me DMs and like, what DTG do you have? Because of your fucking comment.
Yeah.
You cocksucker.
That's awesome.
People say that though, because we used to have a DTG and we got rid. Actually, I had 2 DTGs. And then we got rid of both of them, and then now we got this 12 color press or 18 color press. And we're printing a lot of 12 color work. People are like, "That's DTG'd, right?" And I'm like, "No, man."
It's kind of a compliment, honestly.
It is.
It's a compliment because they look at that
I was
print.
Trying to give you a compliment.
Yeah,
right.
They look at that
rude.
Print. They look at that print and they're like, "Oh, that has to be digital." And it's like. I mean, this one was like very spot color. It was just straight up like 12 spot colors.
I wonder if
we had a couple
squeegee,
halftones in there, but
I wonder if the digital squeegee would make sense for you, Brandt.
We've already. I'd say it's in our pipeline.
That was one of the questions I had for you, but I skipped it because we went on equipment for like an hour.
I had the M&R M-Link, which is its younger, beat up brother at this point. It's PG for me is a love-hate. When it's working right, it was great. When it wasn't working right, it wasn't great. It was want to smash it. Now the digital squeegee is going to be less of a problem because it's not printing white ink.
Right.
So I think overall it should probably be a really good ad for a shop like ours. And both of our presses could actually take a digital squeegee, which is good. And that was one of the things I said when I bought it. I was like, when I bought my Gauntlet 3, I was like, we got to be able to put a digital squeegee on this in case we ever go down that road. And they're like, yep, that's what that press is made for. No problem. It's even got a button. You just click, it'll turn it into a digital squeegee whenever you pop in there. I think for us, it'll happen. I just don't know when, I think the price is still pretty high.
I feel like our shops are very similar in like what you're saying, because it's the same thing. When we got that one, we were basically like, I have a feeling that within the next like 5 years, I'm going to have one.
I think you just said the right term. I think 4 or 5 years from now, it's going to be very prominent.
I feel like it's going to be at the price point of like buying a new press, not at buying 5 new presses.
Yeah, it's going to come down in price, and I think it's going to get a little even more reliable.
Right.
I don't think speed's that big of a deal. I mean, I was watching the digital squeegee in the R&D room. They used to send me videos before.
Well, it does like 400 an hour or some shit.
I've seen it do 600 in the R&D room. Now, to be fair, it wasn't the tallest print in the world they were sending me videos of, but I think he told me it was doing north of that at certain times, certain art.
Right.
Whatever.
But even then, it's like that's
but if you can do 400 an hour and you don't got to put 12 screens on the press, you got to put 3.
Or you don't have to mix 12 inks, or you don't have to. You can tweak stuff on press.
You can offset a lot of that cost of the slower runtime by just not the setup and no screens to burn and no cost of reclaiming screens. And
right.
So obviously I'm paying attention to it. I just think that the numbers I'm hearing on what it costs are a little out of my range right now as far as.
Well, for me, it's not even, the cost sucks, but for me, it's just like, it's like buying that thing when it first comes out and then you get it and then you realize it has all these bugs that they fixed 2 years later.
Yep.
It's like, so that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting to where it's just like a normal thing.
Well, I like what you're saying, because the other thing with me on DTG is that I feel like it's such an evolving technology that in 5 years from now, DTG is going to be like another leap forward, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
So a digital squeegee in 5 years from now is going to be like, wow, like a holy shit, like this is the ticket,
it's
maybe
just another.
Maybe it'll be a little faster, a little more reliable, and the cost will be down. I think that's a no-brainer at that point. Because I don't enjoy watching all those dirty screens pile up. It's not fun.
Well, that was the thing. Like the print we did on Friday. Like, it was a really cool print and it was fun to do. But we had to burn 12 screens. We had to mix 12 inks. Well, we had some on the shelves, but still, like a couple we had to mix. He had to put all the ink in. And the funny thing is I talked about this on another thing, but like that order was only 24 shirts.
Yeah,
like we would not. We would not normally do that. Like normally it's like if it's 12 color print, it's 100 shirts. But it was a friend of ours. It was a cool print. We were like, fuck it, we want to do it anyway.
Flex your muscle a little bit.
But it wasn't even 2 spins.
Yeah,
because it was 24 shirts. There's 16 pallets.
Were you printing after the flash on a couple? I guess you had to have been if you have 14 color.
Yeah, so we just took out our second flash, and I think we did it in 2 spins.
Okay.
So, but we did a discharge under base, so we didn't have to double that or do anything weird. Mm-hmm. We just had discharge under base, flash, and then we did like wet on wet for like 5 colors, and then we did flash again on the second spin, and then the other 5 colors. It was done.
Yeah.
So it was 2 spins, 12 colors. It came out awesome. It was a good print. And like I said, for us, it was just more the giddiness of like, this is fun. Like this
flex
is
your muscles a little bit. You know?
Right. But that's what I'm saying is the thing with the digital squeegee is we wouldn't have had to spend like that first hour or whatever, getting the screens ready, putting inks in. And then when he finished that job, like I say, he literally hit start, spun it 4 times, and the job was done. Then it was like, okay, here's another half hour, 45 minutes of taking the ink out of all those screens, taking the screens down, setting them, putting everything away.
Everything.
And it was like, he probably spent 2 hours just set up and tear down on a 12 color.
Yeah.
For 24.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, sometimes we have it go real snappy because we're doing most of our work is 8 color now on a back. Like most of it is, so
but you're also might be running a couple hundred shirts. Which makes sense.
Yeah, right. It makes more sense than, but so we're real good at that. But once we get into 10 and 12 color setups, we kind of get bogged down by some of those, and then of course, every once in a while you have a job just fights you and you can't get the registration right, or you can't get something right, the ink color or whatever, and you just suck down so much time, where it's like, 2 hours and we're still not printing. What the hell happened? And I think a lot of that would go away with a digital squeegee. I think. Well,
the thing too is like for us with the 12 color, that's nice. Is like they were all registered. Right off CTS. No, we don't even do registration marks anymore.
Oh, we
put it on press. Snap all the way around. Like I said, the thing that took him the most time was putting ink in and taking ink out.
Oh yeah, it's the killer.
And it was like that was the only thing that was like any kind of time consuming with that project.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
it
Brandt,
eats up a bunch of time.
You ready for the Inksoft question?
Are you doing it or am I doing it?
Inksoft question.
Do you know it?
No.
Well, no. If you
in front of me, you
okay,
texted me.
There you go. Go for it. Go for it.
All right. Well, we have an Inksoft sponsored question.
Okay.
You have the choice of any car in the world, but it's the only car you can ever drive for the rest of your life.
Ooh.
What car do you choose?
Ooh.
Or truck? So you might be like, well, hey, this one's awesome, but you have to drive it forever.
Say McLaren P1.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds cool.
It's really fast. $2 million car.
But does it work in every scenario? Like, can you get groceries in it?
No, I'd be in bad shape when it's time to get groceries.
You'll have to put a hitch on it so you can take a trailer.
I'll have to have a friend that follows me somewhere.
Dylan, what car do you choose?
Oh, God. Well, my dream car, and this is super just backwoods me, would probably just be like simpleton, would be like an old square S10.
Okay.
Just because I could do anything in it. It's good on gas because it's small. And it's a truck.
With the 4.3 in it though, right?
Yeah, manual. If I could have that just to do whatever in, I think I'd be happy.
Those are good trucks.
Andy?
Oh, I want the new Bronco. Like the whatever it is. I mean, I know there's like a bunch of different versions.
You don't want the OJ version?
No. Have you seen it? It's so cool looking.
It is cool. Yeah, it is cool. I wish it looked a little bit more like the concept though. They deviated a little bit from the original concept. They made a concept for like one of the trade shows, like, I don't know, a couple years ago. And they deviated a little bit from it. I thought it looked cooler in the concept. They always do look cooler in the concept before they build them. But
well, they have to dumb it down for like mass production and stuff.
Yeah, it's got to meet safety regulations and 100 other things. And some bean counters probably got involved and said, we can't do this because it costs too much money or something, But yeah, they're still cool. I like those Broncos.
Brian, who works for me back when we were in the band and I didn't have a van at the time, he had a Bronco, but it was the Eddie Bauer edition.
Yeah. So
it was funny because it looked like the store, it's like that green and tan. It was that color and it said Eddie Bauer on it in a couple spots.
High end version.
I was like, you have an Eddie Bauer Bronco. Yeah. It was really weird.
I'm gonna get the Gucci version.
I know.
Version of it.
Was it Dolce & Gabbana or whatever? Where it's got the logos on everything.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Brandt, thanks for doing this with us, man. This is a fun
no problem.
one.
No, this was great. Yeah.
Well, keep posting those pics on Instagram. It gives me inspiration, man. Those are
hey, I'm nobody special. You guys do awesome work too. So,
what's all the things for people should check you out on Instagram, and what's the handle?
Yeah, easy. It's at Graphic Disorder is my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. All of it really pretty much is at Graphic Disorder. And that's
you guys do a lot of YouTube videos too. Of like
we're starting to. I just bought a Canon EOS R5, which is really, really dope for cinema stuff. So we're hoping to do some better videos. The videos we have on there now are just, a lot of our customers, like I made a couple videos early on, like just walking around the press as it's printing. And now customers are like, hey man, I got to see mine. So some of them will ask me and I'll make a video. Like we've only done one where we actually like talk you through what's actually happening, So, I'd like to do more of that, I'm kind of camera shy, so this is a little new to me. But this
I was too. Like before I was doing this podcast stuff, I was never on camera. That's why a lot of people thought Chris owned the company because he was the one who did all our videos.
The face. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like I started doing this and I mean, a lot of people knew who I was from like trade shows and stuff, but like, now it's like I'm everywhere. My face is on everything, and it's weird. I don't know if I like it or not.
Yeah, I'm still like, this is like the 4th podcast I've done, and this is still weird to me. Like, I've not done one with video though. Well, no, I did one with M&R with video. But yeah, it's just, this is weird to me because I'm just, like I said, I'm a redneck from Indiana, man. We weren't supposed to have our own business and all that.
Well, you're doing something right, dude.
I think so. I'd like to believe that I could do it even better. But
we're always evolving.
Yeah, we all could.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Yeah, it was great, guys.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll see you later, dude.
Enjoyed it.